The international break is over, the Blues are back, but it is going to be a tough test on Teesside. Hello everyone and welcome back to the Harvey Bell YouTube channel. I am Harvey Bell, and as you can see in the top left hand corner of the screen, I'm currently trying to grow my subscriber count to around 1,500 before Christmas. Support on the channel recently has been absolutely fantastic, but if you are new to the channel and you're not yet subscribed, I would really appreciate it if you do subscribe to the channel. And whilst you're there, if you want to tell me in the comments section what the score will be this Friday when Ipswich Town play versus Middlesbrough, that would be absolutely delightful as well. Plenty to discuss ahead of this fixture, but I wanted to start with our hosts, Middlesbrough. Now, credit where credit is due. They've been phenomenal so far this season. One of the early pace setters of the division. Coventry City top, Middlesbrough in second, both of them under new management. Obviously, Frank Lampard's first full season in charge of Coventry, and Rob Edwards is in charge of Middlesbrough. And what a job they are both doing at the minute. But it didn't surprise me, to be honest with you, because as we know, Town didn't have the best of starts to the season. Leicester have been fairly decent, but Southampton so far have not been very good under Will Still at all. If the three teams relegated from the Premiership last season aren't performing well or haven't had the best of starts, the division is going to be blown wide open for teams like West Brom, teams like Middlesbrough, teams like Coventry, teams like Millwall, who were in and amongst the race for the playoffs, or maybe even in the playoffs last year, to really push on and try and get themselves into the top two. And that's exactly what's transpired so far this season. But I look at the Middlesbrough squad and I see a really strong squad of Championship talent. They've got so much experience in there. Matt Targett, obviously formerly of Aston Villa. You've got Luke Ayling in there, used to play for Leeds United, done a good job at Premier League level for them, certainly very good in the Championship for them as well. But then they've got a nice blend of youth and talent that can do anything at any given moment. I certainly think Morgan Whittaker, although maybe his Middlesbrough career hasn't gone exactly to plan quite yet, he's still a player that can pull it out of the bag when most needed. And generally speaking, their squad depth is incredible. I mean, I saw a crazy stat not so long back, it's probably changed now, but former Ipswich Town defender George Edmondson, although not playing very much football, for the minutes that he had played, was statistically the best defender in the division, which really says something about their squad depth, and we know what a good player he is as well. So full credit to Middlesbrough. I think they're doing an absolutely terrific job. And Rob Edwards, we know what a good manager he is at this level. Obviously enjoyed lots and lots of success with Luton Town. There were question marks when he went over to Middlesbrough because Carrick had done a fairly decent job, and there was talk of maybe there was a more established manager out there that could finally get Middlesbrough back up. But Rob Edwards so far is in an absolutely terrific job. A good young coach, very different profile to that of Kieran McKenna, obviously at Ipswich Town, but he's somebody that's doing very well, and so far has Middlesbrough doing everything that they need to be promoted come the end of the season, come what may. I mean, they've only got one defeat so far, and that came away at Portsmouth. And Fratton Park, as we know, is not an easy place to go. What a result that is for Portsmouth as well. But to be 9 games into the season and to have only lost one and, you know, drawn very few of them is very impressive. Ultimately, though, I could sit here and talk about Middlesbrough all day. I do like to try and give credit where it's due, but you're here for Ipswich Town action, and we will talk about all things Ipswich Town after this. Okay, it is time for Guess Blue, that time of the episode where I give you 3 words and you tell me in the comment section which former Ipswich Town player I am talking about. Striker, Maldon and Colchester. Striker, Maldon and Colchester. Those are your 3 words today. Tell me in the comment section which former Ipswich Town player I'm talking about. But then going back onto Ipswich, and I talk about our poor start to the season, it was only poor by our own standards, as we know, because Town have started to win games, we've started to pick up points, and we ourselves have only lost 1 game of the season, which was away at Preston, which makes Friday so important, because this is probably the first game where we are coming up against a serious promotion rival, as I would imagine will be the case going into the later stages of the season based on the early season form. And if we are to win this game, we close the gap to Middlesbrough to just 3 points, which I know we're very, very early on into the season, and I don't want to put the pressure on the boys. I don't want to put too much pressure on this game, but it is a big game because effectively it's 6 massive points come the end of the season between two teams that I fully expect to be up there. Not only that, I do think that it's a really important game coming off the back of the international break. And I was having a conversation with a friend this morning who pointed out something really important to me. I previously said in a video that the international break came at the wrong time. But I'm going to go back on that because Ipswich Town started to build a lot of momentum before the international break. And then we obviously had the win over Norwich, which massively raised spirits as well. Now, I think the international break has now come at a good time because it allows us just to have that moment to pause, to relax, because had we have beaten Norwich and gone straight into another game, then perhaps us as fans maybe have been expecting too much. That feeling might have been really too high, that if things didn't necessarily go our way, confidence could have been knocked, and the confidence was a little bit vulnerable. But just having that week in between and those couple of weeks in between this really big game against Middlesbrough, I think just calms things down a little bit, and that could really be beneficial to us when we go over to Teesside. Obviously, it is a really long journey up there for the Ipswich Town fans. I think it will be something crazy like 5 or 6 hours of a drive. I'm not making my way up there. I shall be in the radio studio for that one. It's not a ground that I've been to in the past, but it's a very good ground from what I know. Obviously, it's up near Sunderland and Newcastle, there or thereabouts, probably just a little bit before there. But ultimately, it should be a good day out for the fans. And a Friday night under the lights, not ideal by any circumstances for fans to have to travel. You know, some people will still have work on Friday, that sort of thing, but it will still be nice by the time you get there. And, you know, the night game atmosphere is always fantastic ahead of then being back at Portman Road on Tuesday against Charlton. But this one is going to be a really big game. And there's one thing that we haven't spoken about yet, which is the Hayden Hackney situation. So Hayden Hackney in midfield for Middlesbrough, and what a player he is. It has to be said, obviously playing for England under 23s alongside Jaden Philogene, coincidentally, and nearly joined Town in the summer. It's reported that a big fee was agreed and Hayden Hackney was very close to joining, but at the last minute did turn Town down, which is a bit of a mouthful to say, but also very disappointing because he's a very good midfielder. Perhaps a blessing in disguise, because had that deal gone through, then maybe we wouldn't have got Jens Kajus back on loan. Maybe we wouldn't have even gone in for Azor Matasiwa. I can't exactly remember the history and whether we'd already signed Matasiwa by the time that we were being linked with Hackney, but forgive me on that one. But you never really know what might have been had this player have signed. But all I know is Hackney is a very talented player, very strong in the tackle, usually dominates games and has a really good shot on him, and has been no doubt instrumental to what Middlesbrough have achieved so far this season. So he will be a player to watch out for, but it will be a really interesting battle, because I would imagine it would be Kajust and Matasiwa that start and will be sort of marshalling him through that game. In terms of Ipswich Town squad selection, we'll hear, maybe you would have already heard from Kieran McKenna by the time this video comes out, but if not, we're still waiting on news for Szmodics, who was reportedly in a boot sort of before the international break and withdrew from the Republic of Ireland squad. Now, I know that sounds terrible, but the same thing did happen before the last international break, and that was to do with swelling on his ankle. So although being in a boot sounds bad, it was just precautionary, and he did then play the next game, so we'll have to wait and see what happens with that. And also, when it comes to team selection, I should mention Chuba Akpom as well, because if Szmodics isn't fit and is in a boot, then Chuba Akpom could be the man that's preferred. And of course, this throws up a really interesting situation, because Akpom did used to play for Middlesbrough and had lots and lots of success there. He scored 28 goals in one season for them, so this is a big homecoming, and I would expect him to be getting a very big standing ovation, or at least a very good reception, and hopefully he can start scoring the goals for Ipswich soon. But watch this space, because it could be a big night for Chuba Akpom. And then Sindre, Walle, Egeli as well did pull out of the young Norway side as well. No news as to what that is, but you do have to remember that he has just moved to a new country, and he himself might have found it more beneficial to stay with Ipswich than to go over for some friendlies. But I'm just speculating there. I don't exactly know why he pulled out of the squad, but I like to think it's for that reason. So squad selection will be quite interesting, because you'd imagine if both fit, both Szmodics and Sindre Egeli would start at the Riverside Stadium on Friday night. But definitely eyes on the team selection come 7 o'clock on Friday night, when the team is likely to be announced. So that would be interesting to see what happens there. But generally speaking, I am very excited for this game. As I say, it's a proper big game when it comes to what will be the final championship standings come what may, and it's a big game in the promotion race. So please do tell me in the comment section what you think the score is going to be. I'm going to try and be nice and confident here. It's going to be a really difficult game, no doubt about it, but I'm going to back Ipswich Town here for a 2-1 win away from home. I just like to think that the form we're in, the confidence we've got at the minute, may well be enough just to carry us through. But maybe, just maybe, I need to take off my blue tinted glasses. Otherwise, all that's left to say is safe travels to all the Ipswich Town fans that are making their way up to the Riverside Stadium. If you're watching on TV, do enjoy it. And other than that, come on you Blues. Thank you for watching, and keep on keeping on.